Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we explore a unique crossover between My Hero Academia and Fairy Tail. What if Deku and Erza's love was destined to be? Join me as we dive into an alternate reality where these two powerful heroes' fates are intertwined. Get ready for a tale of love, courage, and destiny. We are at UA, the great school for heroes, but let's focus on Class 1A, where as always there is a mess, until Aizawa arrived to teach them. Classes had ended, and everyone was getting ready to head to the dorms, but a certain freckled, broccoli-haired boy had other plans. Kaminari, hey Midoriya, we're going to play video games, Kirishima, Tokoyami and Todoroki are going to be there, do you want to join? Izuku, sorry guys, but I have to get changed and do something today, maybe later. Uraka, are you going out Deku-kun? She said with jealousy but it wasn't noticeable. Izuku, no, I was just going to go see my mother, that's all he said nervously, well I have to get changed and go see my mother, see you later, he said to go towards his room. Mina, suspicious. Later. Everyone was in the common room watching how the boys had gathered to play video games, while the girls were in a secluded place, everyone was minding their own business, until the elevator doors opened, and the green-haired boy came out wearing an outfit that made a certain brunette blush a little. Everyone was in the common room watching as the boys had gathered to play video games, while the girls were in a secluded place, everyone was minding their own business, until the elevator doors opened, and out came the Izuku, well, I have to go, see you guys later. Mina, hey Uraka, why were you staring at him? She said with a mischievous smile, embarrassing the brunette, already declare your love for her. While with the green-haired boy, Izuku was walking through the streets of Musetafu towards his mother's house. It took him a few minutes to get there, until he was finally able to arrive and enter the apartment. Izuku, Mom, I'm home, he said but received no response. Mom, are you home? Izuku walked through the apartment until he reached the dining room where he found a note. Inko's note, Izuku, I'm not going to be home for a while because of work, I'll be away for a few months so I'm asking you to take care of the house while I'm gone. I already told the school and they said it was okay. Izuku, then he'll be gone for a few months, I guess I'll go out for a walk for a while, it's 2 p.m. I have time. Izuku went out for a walk through the streets of Musetafu. He walked for a while seeing how peaceful the city was. Izuku was walking deep in his thoughts, thinking about how he could improve in the use of the black whips that he used in training against Class B. He was so deep in his thoughts that he collided with a person, both falling to the ground, along with some things that had fallen to the ground. Izuku, I'm sorry, I was distracted, let me help you, he said to gather the things that had fallen to the ground. Okay, thanks, but watch where you're going, said a female voice while picking up the things that had fallen. Izuku, yeah, sorry again. Izuku was about to pick up a notebook, but his hand collided with another one. When he looked up, his gaze met a beautiful red-haired girl with brown eyes, wearing a white sleeveless shirt, along with a blue ribbon, a skirt of the same color, and long black boots. Izuku stared at the girl in front of him for a few seconds, until he removed his hand and blushed. Izuku, I'm sorry, he said blushing and nervous, here you go, I'm sorry for throwing your things. The girl would let out a small laugh at the green-haired boy's attitude, and would take the things that Izuku was giving her. Izuku, more relaxed, would try to look the girl in the eyes, but he couldn't help but blush a little when he saw her, because in the green-haired boy's eyes she was a very beautiful girl. Izuku, I'm sorry for knocking over your stuff by mistake, at which point Izuku would see a coffee spilled on the floor, and for knocking over your coffee, I'll pay you back. Oh, don't worry about it, it's okay, accidents happen. Izuku, please let me pay for your coffee, it's my fault you fell, said the green-haired man bowing. The girl, seeing that she couldn't convince the green-haired boy, decided to accept that Izuku would pay for her coffee, so they both went to a cafeteria where they sat down and ordered what they were going to order. By the way, what's your name? Said the girl curiously. Izuku, my name is Izuku Midoriya, it's a pleasure, sorry for not introducing myself before, said the green-haired man nervously. Nice to meet you Midoriya, I'm Erza Scarlet, nice to meet you 3. Izuku, nice to meet you Scarlet. Erza, just call me Erza, I don't like being called by my last name. Izuku, it's okay, Erza. So the two of them talked for a while, getting along, their conversations always brought up a laugh or two, everyone who saw them thought they were a cute couple, even though they weren't even a couple. After they were given what they ordered, they both started eating, with Erza eating a slice of strawberry cake, until Izuku asked Erza a question. Izuku, Erza, what's your quirk? Erza, Well, my quirk is called equipment. I can change my clothes as I please. It can be a simple outfit or one of the many armors I have, including my swords. Izuku, wow, sounds like an interesting quirk, he said excitedly. Sorry if the question made you uncomfortable. Erza, it's okay, don't worry, she said with a smile. When they finished eating, Izuku paid for what they had ordered, although Erza insisted on paying her share but Izuku did not allow it. It was getting a little late so Izuku offered to take Erza home, which she accepted. They were walking for a few minutes. On the way they got to know each other a little more, until they arrived at an apartment building. Izuku was surprised by where they had arrived since it was the same building where his mother's apartment was. As they continued walking, Izuku saw that Erza's apartment was next to his mother's. Erza, thanks for accompanying me, she said, bringing the green-haired boy out of his amazement. Izuku, if there's no problem, do you live alone? Erza, well, I don't exactly live with friends. At that point, screams began to be heard in the apartment. What did you say, little flames? What did you hear, refrigerator with legs? Guys, stop, you're going to destroy the apartment, and you're bothering the neighbors, said a female voice, between nervous and angry. Izuku, that explains why it was cold and hot suddenly, he thought with a drop of anime-style sweat. Erza, let me have a minute, she said as she entered the apartment and Izuku waited outside. Are they fighting again? Erza, it's his fault, he started it, he said scared. That's a lie, he started it. Erza, I don't care who started it, now come here both of you, she said, followed by blows and screams of pain, making Izuku feel sorry and pity for the poor souls that were in there. A few minutes passed in which Izuku prayed for the souls of those poor men. After that, Erza left the apartment. Erza, I'm sorry you heard that. Izuku, okay, I guess I have to get used to it, he. Erza, yes, wait, getting used to it? She said intrigued. Izuku, yes, because I live next door, he said pointing to the door next to Erza's apartment. I'll come on the weekends to clean the apartment, since I live at the academy, and speaking of which, I have to go, it's getting late. It was nice meeting you, Erza. Izuku was about to leave, but was stopped by Erza who took him by the shoulder. Izuku, Is something wrong, Erza? The green-haired boy said doubtfully. Erza just took out a paper and gave it to Izuku. Erza, I had fun talking and being with you, this is my number, call me, and when you come you can visit me if you want, she said somewhat embarrassed, to which Izuku thought she looked cute like that. Izuku, sure, I'll come tomorrow, I'll be at my apartment for the weekend, he said taking the paper that had Erza's number and starting to walk. See you tomorrow, he said giving her a smile that made Erza blush. Wow, the impatient and strong Erza is blushing? Said a blonde mockingly towards the redhead. Erza, shut up Lucy, I'm not blushing, the redhead said somewhat annoyed, I was just talking to our neighbor. Lucy, neighbor? You mean that boy? Lucy, neighbor? You mean that boy? Erza, yes, he lives in the apartment next door. Lucy, I see, he seems like a nice guy. Meanwhile with the green-haired boy. Izuku was heading towards the dorms. On the way he couldn't stop thinking about Erza and the day he had today. Izuku, Erza seems to be a nice person, although she seems to be a bit impatient he said remembering how Erza had complained that they still hadn't brought her slice of cake. I guess I'll go visit her tomorrow, it's Saturday so I'll have the weekend free. Upon arriving at the dormitories, Izuku greeted his classmates, although they noticed that the green-haired boy was happier and more content than usual, and Mina, who was the most gossipy and nosy in the class along with Toru, decided to go ask directly. Toru, hey Midoriya, why are you so happy? Mina, yes, today you come very smiling Midori, said the lost daughter of Majin Buu. Izuku, boo, well it's nothing, yes, I just had a good day that's all, he said nervously because of how close both girls were. However, he didn't notice when the paper had fallen out of his pocket, and a certain brunette had picked up the paper, and upon opening it, she saw a phone number along with the name of the owner. Uraka, Deku, who is Erza Scarlet? She said with a smile, but her tone of voice was a little annoyed. Izuku, boo, well it's a girl I met today he. Mineta, damn Midoriya. You just went out to hook up with some girl, he said, pointing accusingly at the green-haired boy. Kaminari, you only came out to be a Don Juan. Izuku, no, you are wrong, he said, shaking his hands. Ida, guys, leave Midoriya alone, it's his personal life, you shouldn't bother him, said the cheap Robocop. Izuku, thanks Ida, he said, grateful to Sonic's son. Well, I'll be in my room, see you, he said, to take the paper from Uraka's hand and go to his room. Once the freckled boy left, Mina approached Uraka, who was jealous. Mina, it seems that they are already getting ahead of you, she said, looking at Uraka. I'm warning you, if you don't act quickly, they will take it from you. The next day. Izuku, well, I have to go to the apartment, I guess I can relax a little like that, he said while stretching. Well, time to go, maybe I'll stop by to see Erza. Izuku took a few things and headed towards the dorm exit. He passed by the common room where his classmates were. Upon seeing him with some suitcases, they went to ask. Ida, Midoriya, why are you carrying those bags? Izuku, oh, well, I'm going to spend the weekend at my mother's apartment, since she will be away, and she asked me to clean on the weekends, plus it also serves to relax a bit. Todoroki, Midoriya, I'll make sure Mineta doesn't come into your room, last time he wanted to steal one of your notebooks for. The truth is I don't even know what he wanted it for, I just know it was for one of his perversions. Izuku, thanks Todoroki, well, I'm leaving, I'll be back on Sunday night, he said to leave the dorms and head towards his apartment. Izuku arrived at his apartment and began to clean it a little. He stayed like that for 30 minutes until he finally finished and lay down on the couch. Izuku, oof, I'm finally done, well, I'll go take a shower and maybe go see Erza afterwards, he said, to go to the shower and take a bath. After bathing and getting dressed, she left to go to Erza's apartment and knock on the door, to be opened by a pink-haired boy. Hello, can I help you? Said the pink-haired boy. Izuku, hello, is Erza there? Oh, are you looking for Erza? She went out to buy some things, but if you want you can wait for her inside, go ahead, he said to let Izuku in. Izuku, thanks, he said as he entered the apartment. By the way, I'm Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, my name is Natsu Dragnell, but just call me Natsu, he said, reaching out to shake Izuku's hand. Izuku, so you tell me Izuku, it's nice to meet you Natsu, he said, accepting the handshake. Natsu, it's okay Izuku, come on, make yourself at home. Izuku, is there anyone else here? Natsu, yeah, hey Gray, we have visitors, he said so that a black-haired man would come out of a room. Gray, why are you screaming? He said and then looked at Izuku, and who is he? Natsu, this is Izuku, the next door neighbor. Izuku, nice to meet you, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Gray, nice to meet you Izuku, I'm Gray Fullbuster, but just tell me Gray, and what brings you here? Izuku, I just came to see Erza. Gray, I see, hey, let us give you some advice, don't make her angry under any circumstances, he said, trembling a little. Natsu, angry is scary, said the same as Gray. Lucy, what are you two talking about? She said, entering the apartment with Erza. Natsu/Gray, you're welcome, they said nervously. Erza, oh, Izuku, what brings you here? Izuku, boo, well, I came to visit and I met Natsu and Gray, they are good guys. Erza, I'm glad they get along, usually those two idiots are always fighting. Natsu, but we are best friends, he said with a nervous smile, hugging Gray. Erza, yes, of course, she said sarcastically. Lucy, nice to meet you, I'm Lucy Hertfilia, she said with a smile. Izuku, nice to meet you, I am Izuku Midoriya, he said nervously and blushing. So a few weeks passed, weeks in which Izuku was always with Erza, and as they spent more time together, a feeling began to be born within them, but neither of them knew what it was, one because he never thought something like that would happen to him, and the other because he is too innocent and a bit of an idiot to realize it. With that, about 4 months would pass, and we found our favorite broccoli getting ready to go out, since after gathering his courage he decided to invite Erza on a date. Something good about spending time with Erza is that he had left some of his nervousness behind, having more confidence in himself, plus Erza helped him with the use of the black whips, being able to create weapons with them, as well as learning to use the sword. The green-haired boy was very well dressed for the date, although his change in attitude was noticed by his companions, who upon seeing him, were the first to approach him. This is how Izuku aka Broccoli Man was dressed. Uraka, Deku-kun, I wanted to know if we could talk in private, she said with a blush. Izuku, I'm sorry Uraka, but I already have plans for today, he said, discouraging the brunette. Todoroki, what time is it? Todoroki, it's 3:15, said the bicolor. Izuku, okay, I have time, see you guys, he said to leave the dorms, leaving his classmates alone. Kaminari, where do you think Midoriya is going? Kirishima, I guess he went to see his mother. Tokoyami, but today is Thursday, and Midoriya said his mother is out of the country for work. Mina, what if we follow him? Ida, Ashido, we can't do that, we would be violating his privacy, said Sonic's unrecognized son. Uraka, let's do it, she said with clear jealousy. Ida, Uraka? We can't do that. Kirishima, spying on a friend is not manly, so no. Todoroki, I'm not going to spy on my best friend. Bakugo, I don't care about the stupid nerd. Mina, but don't you want to know if something is wrong with Midori? She said, manipulating her companions to follow her. With that said, a small group was formed to follow the green-haired boy, made up of Mina, Toru, Uraka, Momo, Jiro, Ida, Tokoyami, Todoroki, Kirishima, and Kaminari. Some went out of curiosity, others like Mina and Toru just went to gossip. Uraka went just to find out if Izuku was with a girl. Yes, she was jealous. From a distance they saw him heading to the building where his apartment was. Momo, you see Mina? She just went to her apartment. Ida, I feel bad, I came to spy on my friend. Todoroki, I guess we can go, he said, preparing to return to the dorms. So everyone went to the bedrooms, but now we will focus on Izuku, who was in front of Erza's apartment door. Izuku, very well Izuku, you can, take her out to eat somewhere, spend time with her, and if possible invite her to the UA dance, he said, remembering what his teacher told him today in class. Flashback. Aizawa, before I forget, he said from his mobile caterpillar, calling the attention of his students. Next week there will be a school dance to celebrate the anniversary of UA since it was founded. You can bring someone or you can come alone, whatever, just that you have to go wearing formal clothes. It is not mandatory to attend, he said to roll out of the room. We then moved on to the dormitories, where the students were talking about the dance. Mina, do you already know who to invite? Jiro, I don't like to dress formally. Kaminari, I feel uncomfortable wearing formal clothes. Todoroki, but you wore a waiter's suit on Island. Kaminari, that was just for old work. Uraka, and you Deku-kun? Do you have someone to invite yet? She said, waiting for the green-haired boy to invite her. Izuku, he said, thinking about who to invite until a certain redhead came to mind and he smiled. Yes, I think so, I already have someone, he said, and for some reason the brunette felt hurt. End of flashback. Izuku knocked on the door to wait a few seconds, and the door was opened by Erza, who was wearing a dress. Erza, and, how do I look? Izuku, beautiful, he said in a daze and without thinking, making Erza blush.
Izuku, beautiful, he said, dazed and without thinking, making Erza blush. I'm sorry Ann, I didn't mean that. Well yes but.
Erza, oh, okay, thanks. So they both started their date. Izuku took her to a not very luxurious restaurant. They both talked for a while. Obviously Izuku paid for everything like a good man. After that they went through a crane, and Erza stared at one of the stuffed animals that were in the machine, which was a green rabbit. Izuku, do you want it? He said and then laughed lightly, seeing how Erza nodded while having stars in her eyes. Okay, we have to try. Izuku took out a coin and put it in the machine. Izuku, with all his concentration, took the stuffed animal with his claw and took it out. Erza, you did it, she said with stars in her eyes. Izuku, here you go, he said, giving him the stuffed animal. Erza, thanks, she said, taking the stuffed animal in her arms. You know? It looks a bit like you, she said, looking at the stuffed animal and then at Izuku. Izuku, you said the same thing about my outfit, he said with a drop of anime-style sweat. Erza, it's your fault for looking like a rabbit, she said with a mocking smile. They both walked for a while, until they reached the beach that Izuku cleaned in his training. They both sat on the sand and would see the beautiful landscape they had. They both would be quiet in a comfortable silence. They just enjoyed the landscape and the breeze of the air. Although the green-haired boy was still thinking about inviting Erza to the UA dance, so taking courage where he had none, he turned his gaze towards the redhead. Izuku, hey, Erza, I wanted to ask you something, he said with nervousness in his voice. Erza, what's wrong? She said, looking at the green-haired boy.
Izuku, well, you see, At the academy there will be a dance to celebrate the academy's anniversary, and I was wondering if...
Erza, yes? Izuku would take a breath so he could ask his question.
Izuku, I was wondering if you'd like to go to the dance with me.
Erza was surprised by the green-haired boy's request, as she hadn't expected that question, and she blushed a little as she imagined her and Izuku as a couple at the dance, although she wouldn't deny that she liked the idea. Erza, sure, I'd love to go, she said trying to look serious, but the blush on her face didn't help much. Izuku, at the redhead's response, just gave a big smile as he stood up and extended his hand to Erza. Izuku, thanks, you won't regret it, he said with a big smile on his face. I really appreciate you wanting to go with me, it makes me happy that you accepted. Erza, calm down, if you're the one asking me, I'll do it, she said as she took the green-haired boy's hand and stood up. It's getting late, I'd better go back to the apartment and you go back to the academy. Izuku, yes, you're right, I'll drop you off at your apartment. So they both went to Erza's apartment, and once they arrived, Izuku was saying goodbye to Erza. Erza, by the way Izuku, she said, drawing the green-haired boy's attention, when will the dance be? Izuku, oh, the dance is next Friday, I'll pick you up at 6, okay? Erza, yes, that seems perfect to me. Izuku, okay, see you. Izuku was about to leave, but Erza stopped him to give the green-haired boy a kiss on the cheek. Erza, see you later, she said as she quickly entered her apartment. Izuku just stood still after that kiss on the cheek, then reacted and blushed, but then changed to a smile. Apparently he had already clarified his feelings, so he ran from the apartment and activated the OFA at 10% and took a big jump to shout with joy to the sky. With Erza, she was when she entered her apartment, she covered her face with her hands and leaned on the door, because she had a Hinata-level blush, and she only heard footsteps moving away from the door. Erza, I think I was finally able to clarify what I feel. Izuku, you are an idiot, a very cute idiot, she said blushing but with a smile on her face. But what he didn't know was that his friends had witnessed everything, and Natsu and Gray had disbelieving faces at what they had witnessed, while Lucy had a smile on her face. Natsu/Gray, Izuku tamed the beast, they said in disbelief at what they saw, making Erza notice them. Erza, how long have you been there? She said nervously, and how much did you hear? She said, changing her attitude to a serious one, scaring Natsu and Gray. Lucy, since Izuku said he would come for you on Friday at 6, he said, making Erza nervous, and we also saw the kiss you gave him, she said smiling mischievously. Erza, don't bother. But then the four of them heard Izuku's shout of joy. Yes, apparently Izuku had shouted loud enough for the four of them to hear, causing Erza to blush again in embarrassment. Lucy, so? Where will Friday take you? Erza, to a ball being held at her academy, but I have a problem. Gray, which one? Erza, she said it was formal wear, and I have none of that. Lucy, I'll take care of that, she said as she went to her room and got a dress. I figured one day you'd have to wear formal clothes, so I bought you this dress when I went to the mall with Natsu and Gray. Natsu, we were pack mules, he said crying comically, it was horrible. Gray, I understand you, old man. Lucy, well, you have to get ready for next Friday. Hey, when are you going to tell Izuku how you feel? Erza blushed at what the blonde said. Erza, maybe I will at the dance. Lucy, that's how you talk. Natsu, wow, who would have thought? Izuku tamed a beast like Erza. Gray, that dick is my idol, he did what no man could. Erza, who do they call a beast? She said with a cold look, making the black-haired and pink-haired boy tremble. While with Izuku, he was running towards the academy with the OFA, he was going at a great speed, but if you looked closely, you could notice a big smile on his face. Izuku arrived at UA, and just walked towards the dorms, even with that smile on his face. Once he arrived, all his classmates saw that he was happier than ever. His classmates were happy because he was happy, others were curious and wanted to know why he was happy, but Uraka had a bad feeling. Todoroki, hey Midoriya, why are you so happy? Said the bicolor curiously. Izuku, oh, nothing, I just had a good day, he said, equally smiling. Todoroki, really? And why is that? Izuku just walked over and whispered to the bicolor. Izuku, I got a partner for the dance, he said in a whisper so that only Todoroki could hear, but he didn't realize that Uraka was behind him, and had heard what he said. Todoroki, that's amazing, who is it? Izuku, you'll know that at the dance, but, he said to remove his smile and get a little nervous. I need you to gather the boys, there's something I want to talk about and I think you can help me, he said so that the bicolor nodded. Later. We can see Kirishima, Kaminari, Tokoyami and Todoroki gathered in the green-haired boy's room, which had changed, since his All Might things were no longer there. Tokoyami, wow, your room has really changed. Kirishima, well, Izubro, what's going on? Todoroki said you wanted to talk to us. Kaminari, yes, I'm curious too. Izuku, well, first I wanted to know if you had already invited someone to the dance. Todoroki, I invited Yaoyorozu. Kaminari, I like Jiru, although before he attacked me with his jacks for suddenly appearing. Kirishima, I invited Ashido. Tokoyami, meet Tsuyu. Kaminari, why do you ask? Haven't you found a partner? Izuku, no, actually that's what I wanted to talk about, I already found a partner for the dance. Kirishima, and who is it? Kaminari, I'll bet my savings on it being Uraka. Izuku, what? No, it's not Uraka, it's a girl I met months ago and, I think I like her, he said with a blush on his face. Tokoyami, you didn't like Uraka? Izuku, why did you think that? Kaminari, it's just that you got nervous and blushed when you were with her. Izuku, Kaminari, I did that with any girl, it's normal for me to blush and get nervous with her, I always got nervous with any girl, besides I think Uraka doesn't know what personal space is, he said and thought the last thing. Kaminari, I see. Todoroki, and you repeat to me why are we here? Izuku, yeah, well, what do I do? I say I like it but I don't know if I like it. Kirishima, what do you feel when you're with her? Izuku, I feel calm, happy, at peace, that I can do whatever I set my mind to. Kirishima, what beautiful words, he said crying manly tears. Todoroki, my friend, let me tell you, you are in love. Izuku, and how do I tell him? Kaminari, we'll take care of it, why don't you do it at the dance? It's perfect for you to confess your love to me. Izuku, thanks, I just need one last thing. Tokoyami, what do you need? Izuku, do you think you could go with me to buy a suit? The last one I used was destroyed on Island. Todoroki, let's say no more, let's go, he said to leave the dormitories with the green-haired boy and his friends. Kirishima, wait, how are we going to pay for the suit? Todoroki, with this, he said taking out a credit card. Izuku, that's it. Todoroki, old man's card, it's time to bankrupt him. With that said, he and the rest went to buy Izuku a suit. So the Deku squad went to get Izuku a suit for the dance. When they arrived at the store, they were looking at which suit would be best for Izuku, until the green-haired boy saw a suit that he liked and showed it to his friends, and then tried on the suit. Todoroki, are you ready? Izuku, yes, I'm ready, he said and then left the fitting room and showed the suit to his friends. How do I look? Kirishima, manly, he said with a thumbs up. Kaminari, you look amazing, the girl will be surprised. Tokoyami, she will fall for you. Todoroki, my friend, that girl is going to be impressed when she sees you. Izuku, thanks guys, I owe you one. Todoroki, don't even mention it. Kaminari, anything for a friend. So the boys returned to the dormitories. Once they arrived, everyone had gone to their respective rooms. Izuku put away the suit he would wear for the dance, and lay down on his bed to sleep. Izuku, at the dance, I'll tell you how I feel about you, Erza, he said as he closed his eyes and fell deeply asleep. But let's move on to a certain brunette's room, where all the girls were gathered, since Uraka had summoned them there. Jiru, are you telling me again why did you call us? I was sleeping peacefully and you told me that we should meet in your room, and to top it off, Toru and Mina dragged me here, said the purple-haired girl in a bad mood why they had woken her up. Uraka, this is important, well at least for me, said the embarrassed brunette. Mina, what is it about? Uraka, I'm going to declare my love to Deku-kun at the dance, she said determinedly. Jiru, really? They woke me up and dragged me here just for that? I'm leaving, don't count on me for this, he said as he left the brunette's room, while cursing loudly. Momo, she's right, I'm leaving, I'd rather go to sleep, she said as she left the room, leaving only Uraka, Mina, Toru, and Tsuyu. Mina, you finally made up your mind, it was taking you too long, she said with a smile, not caring that the other two had left. Tsuyu, and you know what you're going to do? Uraka, no, but that's why I have you, I need you to help me. Toru, leave it to us. So the week passed, in which Izuku prepared to declare his love to Erza, without knowing that she was doing the same thing as the green-haired boy, until finally the day of the dance arrived. Izuku was in his room preparing to go pick up Erza. Izuku, the day has finally arrived, I'm very nervous. Kaminari, calm down, everything will be okay. Todoroki, just be yourself. Izuku, thanks guys. Tokoyami, go get her quickly, you said she was a bit impatient. Izuku, if you're right. So the boys left the dorms, and saw a car park in front of them, and All Might got out with a big smile. Izuku, All Might? All Might, Midoriya Shonen, how are you? I heard you found a partner for the dance. Izuku, but how did you find out? All Might, Kaminari Shonen, I heard him and Kirishima Shonen talking about it yesterday, and let me tell you that I'm proud of you, and I brought you a gift, he said showing the car to Izuku, for you to pick up your companion, and I won't take no for an answer. All Might, Kaminari Shonen, I heard him and Kirishima Shonen talking about it yesterday, and let me tell you that I'm proud of you, and I brought you a gift, he said showing the car to Izuku, for you to pick up your companion, and I won't take no for granted. Izuku, wow, thanks All Might. All Might, you got your license, right? Izuku, yes, thanks for helping me with the license. All Might, don't even mention it, well, go quickly, there's no need to keep a lady waiting. Izuku, yes, he said to get into the car and head towards Erza's apartment. All Might, I just hope that when Mrs. Midoriya returns, Aizawa tells Midoriya Shonen. Kaminari, tell him what? All Might, you don't know? He said so the boys would deny it. Aizawa is dating Midoriya Shonen's mother, he said leaving the boys with shocked faces. With the green-haired boy. Izuku had arrived at Erza's apartment, he got out of the car and went to the apartment door, knocked on the door and waited for it to open. Izuku, okay Izuku, you can do it, declare your love to her at the dance when Kaminari and Todoroki play the song. At that moment, Izuku heard footsteps coming from inside the apartment, and the door was opened, revealing Erza in a blue dress with silver roses, her hair was being fixed, and she was wearing heels of the same color as the dress. At that moment, Izuku heard footsteps coming from inside the apartment, and the door was opened, revealing Erza in a blue dress with silver roses, her hair was being fixed, and she was wearing heels of the same color as the dress. Erza, so? How do I look? She said with a blush when she saw Izuku in his suit. Izuku, why, you look beautiful, he said with a blush and looking away, since the dress highlighted the redhead's good figure. Erza, thanks. Izuku, boo, well, are we going? He said offering his arm to the girl. Erza, yeah, let's go, she said to take his arm and go towards Izuku's car. Do you have a car? Izuku, well, it was a gift from my master, he said to open the co-pilot door. My lady, he said with an amused smile. Erza, oh, thank you kind gentleman, she said in a funny tone as she got into the car. Izuku closed the door and got into the car to head to UA. When they arrived, Izuku parked the car outside the entrance, and helped Erza get out of the car. Erza, and where is the party? Izuku, it's in the UA auditorium, you'd be surprised how big it is. So they both headed to the UA auditorium, and Erza was surprised at the size of the auditorium. When they both entered, they caught the attention of everyone there, and they were surprised to see who Izuku came with, because in everyone's eyes, Erza was just as beautiful or more beautiful than Nehire Hato. As for the girls, they were watching as Izuku and Erza had entered the auditorium, ignoring everyone's gaze, but a certain brunette was boiling with jealousy. Mina, Uraka, I'm going to be honest with you, she said, drawing the brunette's attention. You don't have a chance, she said, leaving the brunette in shock. Toru, Mina is right Uraka, you can't compete against her. Tsuyu, they are right. Uraka, no, I'm not going to give up, besides maybe they just came as friends. Mina, I don't think so, they look very happy to be just friends, she said seeing how they both had a slight blush. While with Izuku and Erza. Erza, wow, seriously this place is big, they must have a lot of money to pay for something like that. Izuku, well, actually yes, although I don't know where they get so much money for everything here. They walked until they reached where the drinks were, both started chatting a little, until Izuku's friends arrived, and Todoroki took him by the shoulder. Todoroki, Midoriya, come with us for a moment. Kirishima, sorry but we're going to steal Izubro from you for a while, I hope you don't mind, he said looking at Erza. Izuku, okay Erza, give me a moment, I'll be back in a while. Erza, it's okay. With Izuku, he was surrounded by his friends. Izuku, what's up guys? Kaminari, is that the girl you told us about? Izuku, yes, her name is Erza Scarlet, I met her 4 months ago. Kaminari, Midoriya, you don't waste time, he said with a mischievous smile, you're lucky. With Erza, she was drinking a glass of punch, although she was starting to get angry because Izuku was taking so long, even though only 2 minutes had passed. She was calm, trying not to get angry at Izuku's tardiness, until she saw 2 girls approaching her, one being a brunette with long hair tied in a ponytail, and the other being a purple-haired girl with short hair and a jack on her ears. Momo, hi, I'm Momo Yaoyorozu, this is my friend Kyokajiru, sorry but are you from here? She said curiously as she didn't recognize Erza. Erza, hi, I'm Erza Scarlet, and no, I don't study here, I came with someone. Jiru, really? With whom? Erza, with him, she said looking at the green-haired boy with a slight blush. The 2 girls were surprised when they saw who Erza was looking at, since they didn't think that the shyest boy in the class could invite someone. Momo, Midoriya? She said impressed. Erza, yes, Izuku asked me last week if I could accompany him, and I gladly accepted, she said with a blush looking at the green-haired boy. The 2 girls, seeing Erza's blush, and how she looked at the green-haired boy with a loving look, were happy and worried a little. They were happy because their partner might have found the right one, and worried about Uraka. Jiru, I know it's none of my business but, do you like Midoriya? He said looking at Erza who was still looking at the green-haired boy. Erza, yes, I love him, she said without thinking and still looking at the green-haired boy. Momo, that's good but, she said taking Erza out of her thoughts, I think you should be careful. Erza, why? Jiru, do you see the girl over there? He said, pointing with one of his jacks at the brunette. Erza, yes. Momo, well, she's also in love with Midoriya, and she said she would confess her love to him today at the dance. Erza, how curious, I plan to do the same, she said, looking surreptitiously at the brunette. At that present Mike, who was the DJ of the party, spoke to the students. Mike, good evening ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate the UA anniversary, now let the couples come to the dance floor, come on gentlemen, get the ladies dancing, he said to put on some slow music. So everyone who invited a girl went out to the dance floor, like Kaminari and Jiru, Momo and Todoroki, Tokoyami and Tsuyu, and many other couples. Uraka wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to go with Izuku, but she saw how he was getting closer to Erza, so she started running in his direction. With Izuku, he was approaching Erza, without noticing that Uraka was running towards him. Izuku continued walking until he reached Erza and took her hand, blushing her and then looking at her with a smile. Izuku, do you want to dance? He said looking at Erza with a smile, although he had a small blush on his face. Erza, yes, she said to take Izuku's hand and they both went to the dance floor. They both went to the dance floor, it was a song for slow dancing. Izuku with his left hand took Erza's hand, and put his right hand on Erza's waist. The redhead only placed her left hand on the green-haired man's right shoulder. They were both blushing, but they had smiles on their faces. They were dancing for a while, not noticing that everyone had stopped dancing except them. They were in their own world. Izuku began to remember all the moments he had with Erza, and one came to his head, the day he had started to fall in love with her. Flashback. We can see Izuku and Erza in a park, both were talking about training with the black whips. Erza, now that you can create weapons with those whips, what's next? Izuku, about that, I want you to teach me how to use the sword. Erza, should I teach you? Izuku, yes, since I can create weapons with the whips, I have to take advantage of it, right? Erza, if that's what you want, fine, I'll teach you, but it won't be easy. Izuku, I know, he said while giving her a smile. Erza could see a stain on Izuku's cheek, so she brought her hand closer and put her hand on his face to wipe that stain away. She had already wiped the stain off Izuku's face, but she didn't take her hand off the green-haired boy's face. Erza could see a stain on Izuku's cheek, so she brought her hand closer and put her hand on his face to wipe that stain away. She had already wiped the stain off Izuku's face, but she didn't take her hand off the green-haired boy's face. Erza, I'll teach you what I know, but don't overexert yourself, okay? Izuku, yes, he said, dazed, looking at the face of the beautiful redhead. End of flashback. The green-haired boy continued to look at Erza with a smile. He couldn't stop looking straight into her eyes, those beautiful brown eyes that drove him so crazy. Izuku saw Todoroki, and nodded for him to do what they planned. Todoroki went to present Mike and whispered something to him for the blonde to nod. Izuku, you know Erza? There's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while now, he said as the music changed. Erza, I also want to tell you something, but I'll let you say it first, she said looking at the green-haired boy with a smile and a blush. Izuku, Erza, the time I spent with you was incredible, these months with you were the best of my life, every moment with you was incredible, you brought happiness and joy to my life, and with you I was able to feel something I never thought I could feel. Erza, Izuku, she said impressed by the freckled boy's words. Izuku, to me you were a beautiful girl, even though you seem rude, you are actually a very tender girl, although somewhat impatient, but still, that does not take away the fact that you are a very beautiful girl. I would dare to say that you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my entire life. Maybe I am a clueless fool, but even I can realize what I feel, he said as he brought his face closer to Erza's face. Erza, Izuku, in all this time I came to consider you a great friend, but, seeing the situation and everything we went through, I realize that I can no longer hide what I feel for you, she said while, like the freckled boy, she brought her face closer to his face. Izuku, Erza Scarlet, I swear that I will protect you until the end, I will not let anything happen to you, I will always be there for you, whenever you need me I will be there, that is why I want to tell you that. I love you Erza, he said to join his lips with those of the redhead, and to his joy, Erza returned that kiss. Everyone who heard the freckled boy's words had begun to shed small tears at those beautiful words, as they could see all the love Izuku had for the redhead. And Uraka, seeing Izuku kissing and showing his love for Erza, decided to give up her plan to declare her love to Izuku, as she saw that the green-haired boy was genuinely in love with Erza, so she decided to let go of her feelings for Izuku and let him be happy. Mike, oh my god this is beautiful, she said crying at the freckled man's declaration of love. Todoroki, I know, he said wiping away some tears, handkerchief sensei? He said offering a handkerchief to the blonde. Mike, thanks, young man, he said taking the handkerchief and wiping his nose. Aizawa, your stepson is a hunk. With the pair of lovebirds, they continued in that kiss, until they separated due to lack of air, and looked directly into each other's eyes, both with smiles on their faces. Izuku, Erza, would you like to be my girlfriend? Erza just kissed the green-haired boy again and he kissed him back. Erza, does that answer your question? Izuku, yes, totally, he said with a smile looking at his now girlfriend. Both continued dancing without caring about anything, they were still in their own world, neither one said anything, they just enjoyed being with each other, that was all that mattered to them. However, they were taken out of their little world when they began to hear the applause and screams of excitement from the other students and some teachers. All Might looked at his successor with a smile, while raising a thumb. Aizawa for his part looked at his offspring/stepson with a small smile. He was happy to know that Izuku found the woman who would make his life a paradise. Izuku and Erza were blushing and a little embarrassed, because they didn't know that they had become the center of everyone's attention, but that didn't matter to them anymore, they just wanted to be with each other, so they stopped dancing, and went to where the drinks were. There they met a blonde that Izuku recognized instantly. Izuku, Mirio? What are you doing here? He said curiously. Mirio, I just came to the dance, I heard everything, and congratulations on your relationship, I wish you both the best. Izuku, thank you. Mirio, so? Aren't you going to introduce me to your beautiful girlfriend? Izuku, oh, yes, Erza, this is Mirio Tagata, a friend of mine. Mirio, this is Erza Scarlet, my girlfriend. Mirio, nice to meet you, as Midoriya said, I'm Mirio Tagata but just call me Mirio. Erza, hi Mirio, it's nice to meet you too. Mirio, I leave my friend in your care, he can be very careless and clumsy sometimes, he said laughing a little. Erza, don't worry, I'll take good care of this fool, she said to give Izuku a kiss on the cheek. Izuku, and how is Eri? Mirio, she's fine, she's with Midnight, he said pointing to a white-haired girl next to the +18 heroine, she wants you to visit her from time to time, she misses her daddy ha ha ha, he said amused. Izuku, I will, I promise to visit her more often. Erza, who is the little one? She said looking at Eri who was very adorable in Erza's eyes. Izuku, she's Eri, she's a girl I saved from some yakuzas a while ago, I took care of her while she was in the hospital with Mirio, I became fond of her, and she of me, so much so that she considers me her father. Erza, how cute, she said with a smile looking at the green-haired boy. At that moment, Eri saw the green-haired boy and ran towards him with a smile. Eri, Daddy, she said with a smile, hugging Izuku's leg. Izuku, hello, how are you, little one? He said to pick up Eri and lift her into the air. Eri, I'm fine, but you don't visit me anymore, she said with an adorable pout. Izuku, hee, I'm sorry, little one, I've been really busy lately, he said to lower the little girl to the ground. I promise to come see you more often, okay? Eri, yes, she said happily, but then her gaze fell on the redhead. Daddy, who is she? She said, looking at Erza. Erza, nice to meet you, little one, my name is Erza Scarlet, I'm your father's girlfriend, she said, standing at Eri's level to caress her head with a smile. Eri, girlfriend? Mirio, it means she's with Midoriya because Eri loves him so much, said the blonde so that the white-haired girl would nod. Eri, does that mean you're a mommy? She said, looking at Erza. Izuku and Erza blushed at what the little girl said, while Mirio just laughed, and Eri was confused to see the red faces of both young people. Erza, well, if Izuku agrees, I would be delighted to be your mother, she said, looking at the green-haired boy, who was thinking of an answer. Izuku, well, if Erza agrees, I guess it's okay, he said, making a big smile appear on little Eri's face. Eri, yes. I have a mom now, she said to hug Erza, and she happily reciprocated the hug. After that, the party went on normally. Eri fell asleep because it was so late, and Aizawa stayed with her on a bench, although he also fell asleep like the little girl. Everyone was already going to the bedrooms, except for our favorite couple. They were going to the car so Izuku could take Erza to her apartment. On the trip there was a comfortable silence for the two, they just enjoyed each other's company. Once they arrived at the building, Izuku accompanied Erza to the door of the apartment, although the redhead would be surprised to see a note stuck to the door, and from the handwriting, she knew the letter was from Lucy. Lucy's note: Hey Erza, if you're reading this, well, I'll get straight to the point. We had to fumigate the apartment because a certain idiot was bringing food to her room, and now we're staying in a house a bit far from here, courtesy of Gray, so we probably won't be there when you get back from the dance. We were told the apartment would be bug-free in a week. If you made it and you're the one reading this, have fun with Izuku at his apartment, hee. Erza, upon reading the letter, knew who the idiot Lucy was talking about was, because Natsu was the most gluttonous of his friends. If he thought about it was only two things, eating or fighting with Gray, but when she read the last part, she blushed enormously, imagining her and Izuku doing unholy things. After calming down, she turned to see Izuku, now without the blush on her face, but she had a small blush. Erza, hey Izuku, do you think I can, stay at your apartment for a while? The redhead said nervously. Izuku, is something wrong? He said, curious about the letter Erza read. Erza, apparently they'll be fumigating the apartment, and it will be bug-free in a week. Izuku, Natsu did it right? He said while Erza nodded, wanting to beat the pink-haired boy to a pulp. Erza, yes, and apparently Lucy and the others are in a house a little far from here, so I was wondering if I could stay with you while they are fumigating, she said with a blush on her face and looking away. Izuku blushed a little at the thought that they would be alone in the same apartment, but he did not refuse his girlfriend's request, so they both entered the freckled boy's apartment and changed clothes. Izuku had to lend some of his clothes to Erza, being a black shirt and some shorts. Everything was quiet, they both had dinner and were getting ready to go to sleep. Erza lay down on the bed, and then saw how Izuku took out some blankets and put them on the floor. Erza, what are you doing? She said, curious about what the green-haired boy was doing. Izuku, you sleep in my bed, I'll sleep on the floor, so I don't bother you. Erza, oh no, you're not sleeping on the floor, get on the bed, there's room for both of you. Izuku, but. Erza, no buts, you're going to sleep with me and that's it, she said to grab the green-haired boy and get him into bed with her. Both already in bed, there was a somewhat uncomfortable silence. Although Erza couldn't get out of her head what Lucy said in the letter, Erza's thoughts were racing, filled with excitement and nervousness. But was able to relax, although she was still awake. Erza, hey Izuku, she said, getting the green-haired boy's attention, are you still awake? Izuku, yeah, what's up? He couldn't finish because Erza silenced him with a kiss that he reciprocated. The kiss was warm and tender, each one feeling the closeness of their bond growing deeper. Erza put her hands on Izuku's face to deepen the kiss. The green-haired boy for his part brought her closer to him by the waist. They were kissing for a long time, until they separated due to lack of air. Both were breathing heavily with a blush. The temperature rose more and more. Both shared a deep understanding of each other's feelings. Both of them felt the bond between them growing stronger, ready to deepen their relationship. Erza, Izuku, I feel like we're ready to take this step together, she said, her voice soft, but full of warmth. Izuku, are you sure? He asked, his voice filled with warmth and care. Erza, yes, I trust you completely, she said, her cheeks tinged with a shy blush as she glanced away, feeling the closeness of the moment. With that said, the green-haired man kissed the redhead again, and she kissed him back, both feeling a deep connection, the moon and stars witnessing the strength of their bond. But this story is not over yet. What our protagonist did not know is that a war that would affect the society of heroes was approaching, and the green-haired boy would be the most affected. But that's a story for another day.